Hello and welcome to Come to Daddy, the podcast for people who say they're an empath but don't want to do any of that pesky listening. I'm your host, Reuben K., a man so gay my safe word is Katharine Hepburn. Today on Come to Daddy, I'm examining the self. Not myself, because I'm in therapy for that, and God knows I'm not paying you assholes, but the self. It's a world that sadly seems like it's spinning out of control, and as things crumble between our fingers like money through the fingers of a Tory politician claiming expenses, we take a look around at the rubble of our civilization and realise that if trauma is the new truffle, my snout is primed. Today on Come to Daddy, I am not in the UK. I'm at the New Centre of Comedy, Melbourne. Heard of it? Look it up, bitch. Anyone who's anyone in comedy is here, and that means my producer, Amanda Sangorski, definitely isn't, because she is a humorless cow.
It feels so great to be loved. My mum used to say, don't rise to it, when my brother used to wind me up. There was one particularly stressful episode where he took my Cindy doll and tied her to a post and shot her with his air rifle. Cindy was like a British version of Barbie, but she had flat feet and she was brunette and she could ride a horse. She fucking ruled. Enough of a window into my world. Enjoy this week's episode.
So what's going on in the Come to Daddy podcast, in the podcast, on the podcast? A man I have been trying to get in front of me for months, if not years. Scottish comedian Larry Dean, a man who combines the larrikin charm of the boy next door with the wild eyes of a serial killer and the athletic physique of a terminally ill shaved ferret. Larry Dean won the Scottish Comedian of the Year, the trophy of which I assume was a gold spoon so he could celebrate while cooking heroin. Larry Dean, thank you for coming on Come to Daddy.
Oh, is this the longest introduction you've done in any show, man? That was unreal. It's like, this is a roast battle now.
Look, if you we can absolutely go there, but I just love to I love to start it off with a bang.
Yeah, it's good. I like that. You can tell who you can tell in podcasts sometimes when they're just reining it in and just being like,
I can't stand it when it's all just a chat. You have to have something.
Yeah, when you kind of pre-prepared nasty lines that you've been wanting to say to me and Scottish people for years and finding some sort of outlet for it that you can't find and during stand-up. Thank you, Reuben. Lovely to see you, mate. By the way, the golden spoon thing, that's a great idea. That is such a good idea. That'd be such a funny trophy to have. I'd love that. That'd be amazing.
My genius is underappreciated. So Larry, what are you doing here in Oz?
I am doing the Melbourne Comedy Festival, obviously, and then I'm doing the Sydney Comedy Festival, then I'm doing Brisbane Comedy Festival, and I just had my stand-up special come out on my website. So if anyone wants to check that out, then they can do that.
What's it called?
I don't know if this was the plug bit.
Yeah, but what's the comedy special called?
It's called Fandan. I really messed up, Reuben, right? So basically, the show I've just finished, well, I'm touring now, and it finishes in May, is Fudnut.
Yeah.
And the other one's Fandan, but it's just two words that people don't really know anyway, and they just so happen to start with the same letter. It's because when you have to plug show after, on radio stuff or whatever, you have to explain the title. I thought if I just call them nonsense titles, no one's going to ask. But they still do. But at least they're kind of swear words in Scottish. So it means at least I get a laugh when
you
I'm
can
on
do a
English
bit about it.
Yeah, if I'm on a radio station in England as well, they have no idea. They're like, oh God, what does fudnut mean? And in my head, I'm thinking, yeah, this is great. Because I've just got him to say fanny head in Scottish.
Great.
Yeah.
But I'm sorry, that's a phone call. Hello? Hello? Oh, that's a Chinese scam. That's lovely. Because it started as, hello, this is the Australian government. There is an important information about you on the line. And then moved straight into Mandarin.
Oh, so, all right, I was going to say, are we going to leave this studio and there's going to be a nuclear holocaust outside?
Do you know what? All of these walls bulletproof and lead lined.
Well, and I'd be horrified if this is the last piece of art that the world has.
I'd be thrilled.
Really,
I'd be so happy.
Remember when Scotland was still there? Here's some jokes about Scotland.
I think it's right that if we're the last thing ever to be created as the world plunges into oblivion, that we should go out with a whimper.
Well, we'll have to repopulate the earth, Reuben.
My God, they're going to have to find that ovary at the back of my throat.
Just so weird listening to these jokes, man, when it's not dark outside.
Yeah. And I'm not wearing like 8 pounds of cosmetics. Just going, oh no, with just the normal face, it's terrifying.
Yeah, it is. I see why. Is that why you put it on?
Yeah, softens the blow.
Oh man, I've always found that as well. Whenever someone like gets dressed up, it's like if you would usually be a bit like, whoa, what the hell, like for like thinking that someone's saying something offensive or dark or dirty or whatever. If someone wears like something that's like over the top, kind of like glamorous or whatever, it makes you either go, oh, what is, it's just a character. Like, I think that's when, you know, when drag queens do like, Bianca Del Rio, so funny, like when she's not dressed up, but when she is, I'm like, there's no way you'd get away with that shit.
The power of the clown.
I might do it myself now, actually.
Oh my God, if you steal my act,
Oh yeah,
I will be.
Oh, can you imagine this voice singing? Like, come on.
Can you sing?
I used to sing as a kid, and yeah, I did.
What, were you like a choir boy?
No, I was like I used to be like do Elvis impersonations as a kid, and then I went to do. I don't know if it's the same at school here. You know, when what's your A level here? Like when
How old are you at an A level?
17, 18.
17, 18, we would call that, I think when I did it, it was VCE.
Yeah, so for our like VCE, like which we call hires in Scotland, and in England they call it A level. Yeah, I did music, and you had to be able to play 2 instruments. And
That's like a standard for everyone?
yeah, if you wanted to get the higher, so you had to do like so mine was singing and the other one was guitar. It's first of all, they first teach you to stop singing in a Scottish accent because usually you don't want to hear like Fiddler on the Roof with
No, I do. I absolutely do. All I want to see is Fiddler on the Roof. That's all I want to hear.
Who the fuck is that on the roof? Oh, Jesus.
All right, we do the parental questionnaire, and this is only quick fire answers, please. Names of parents.
Peter and Mary.
Ages.
I actually don't know. That's so bad, but I don't. About one of them, mum is about 66, 65, I think, and my dad is like 70.
Nice. Where do they live?
Glasgow.
And how much do you blame them for how you turned out as a percentage?
I'd say about 60%.
Oh, that's giving you a lot of credit for this.
Credit? Blame, man. It's like
Fine line between the two.
totally. I don't know. I think it's because I look similar to my mum, but all the kind of personality stuff. It's I think when you do stand up, you're around weirdos for like 10 years. So aspects of that.
You're around weirdos for 10 years. Do you mean other comedians or?
Yeah. I think they were all weird and like clowny and stuff, and like you have to learn how to deal with other people. And then also I moved away from Glasgow when I was 18, and then I've got loads of family and stuff. So I do think probably like 40% is all that stuff.
Is all that stuff.
Yeah, but I think there's loads of people say that, you know, like the first 5 years of your life, that's when you kind of get made. Your influence, that's when the biggest influence on your parents have on you is.
Dude, is that a...
Yeah. So it's usually it's like the really early years are really important because that's when you learn about attachment and stuff, and then that's when, and your attachment style usually that's going to be the thing that influences most of your close relationships.
What are they like as people?
My mum is really, really funny, and so's my dad. They're both kind of weirdly. My mum's really witty. She's so cutting, and whenever I've quoted her in stage jokes, she knows why she's been funny. She knows how she's been cutting, and but she's always moving. Like she's like proper ADHD. Like she always goes for walks. She walks like 30,000 steps a day sometimes, and she's like in her 60s. It's nuts. And
What's she running from? Walking from?
Yeah. Probably our kids, to be fair. She would say that. And then my dad is like dafty. So my dad will do like stupid faces and stupid noises and stuff. So I suppose I take kind of funny from both of them. But then dad's a big softie. Mum can be so like brutal. Like if was it called? She was the strict one. Mm-hmm. And dad would only be strict if mum told him to be strict, but dad's a big softie. So if mum was away, dad would be the big softie that would be like looking after us all.
Same dynamic here.
Yeah.
Same dynamic here. But what's interesting is I think my parents would say this. Dad was great in a crisis and mum shocking in a crisis. But in every other element, she was sort of the one in control and the cutting one and the witty one, but also the disciplinarian.
Yeah.
Which I think is also one of the reasons why they're divorced. Because she's like, I can't be the bad guy all the time.
I can't imagine my parents ever getting divorced.
I was about to ask, they're still together.
Yeah, all my families. I think so. My mum and my dad both have 5 siblings on each side. They're all married, apart from one, and then they've got loads of cousins. Catholic family, so it's huge. And of all the family, probably like 60 odd couples, only one of them's divorced.
Are they still religious?
Weirdly, they are, but it's a weird thing of like when my brother went to become a priest, they started going to church because they were like, it's only natural to take an interest in what your child is doing. And I'm a bit like, haven't seen me do a fucking gig, have you? Like, get to know who the golden child is.
Yeah, but the take home from religion is that you might be eternally saved. What are you going to get from a comedy gig?
Well, you feel talented probably if you go and see mine.
You feel just competent. Just go, oh yeah, compared to that, I'm doing okay.
Yeah. Oh God, I had the worst. This is so cringe, Reuben. So I talk about cuckolding on my show, and my dad and mum were in the show.
Great.
And my dad quoted the joke back to me. And my mum's got dirty sense of humour, but my dad does not have a dirty sense of humour. But and just hearing the word cuckold in his voice was...
What's the joke?
I say about cuckolding is like there's a statistic to do with it is cuckolding is actually the #1 Google search on my laptop. And my dad saying that joke back to me, but his accent, he says cuckolding, right? So it sounds like a wee village in Scotland. Oh, you've been up to cuckolding. And the locals there stare at you when you drive through it. But hearing it back, this is the thing. I never wanted to invite my parents to gigs and stuff because I was like, just them hearing. I don't even think I'm that dirty. I'd say I'm cheeky, but that's probably the dirtiest thing I've ever talked about on stage. Yeah. But then any inkling of me talking about anything dirty, I was like, I
think anytime we all want to. We all want to revel in our own kind of sexuality or celebrate our sexuality or joke about sexuality. But the minute we think about our parents having that same agency, every sphincter just closes. Tell me about growing up in Glasgow. You left at 18.
Yeah. I do love Glasgow and I loved living there. I was so unlikely to ever want to move away. And then when I was 17, me and my mates committed some crime. And you'll have to keep this bit in. This is completely made up, right?
Okay.
Yeah. But basically one of my mates got done for the crimes we committed. And I was like, I better fuck off and go away and do something else because I'm in with a wrong crowd here. And I had applied to uni because luckily my school made you apply to uni. There was no option not to apply to uni. It was part of like us doing our exams, we had to apply to uni. So I got accepted for one course in Southampton, which is as far away from Glasgow as you can get in Britain. And then, and I was like, fuck it, I'll just go there. Because loads of my mates were moving away who were not the bad crowd, but the bad crowd was staying.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'll stay away from the bad crowd.
And also there's a naval base near Southampton, so there was something to do.
Oh mate, I had no confidence at all. I'd never...
What age did you come out?
So like come out proper 23, The only reason why I did it was because I was already talking about it on stage, and I was going out with someone who said they would not want to go out with me unless it actually came out to my family, because he didn't want to be full like a secret. But I didn't even lose my virginity until I was 23 either. The guy who I ended up with was that was the same guy who I lost my virginity with. But yeah, I was the shame level, like I was so ashamed. I hated anybody knowing about it. And I always kind of thought, why did they need to know? And then, but the first time I actually ever said out loud that I was gay was to one of my mates when I was 17 or 18. I think it was 18. But tell you what, that's always why I find. So you know how there's a few reasons I always think, because coming out, I think it's really, because I know that thing of, a lot of people say like, oh, it's not a big deal. Even gay people say now as well, it's not a big deal. And it annoys me, because I once I'm sometimes say it on stage still. If I can tell, you know, when you get an ambience of an audience of, I don't know about that. So when I would talk about boyfriend stuff or whatever, I can see some audience members going, oh, hold on a second, you said partner earlier, that must mean girlfriend or something like that. And then I just have to quickly say I'm gay. A gay guy messaged me and said, you shouldn't do that. You should just kind of keep, you're just fitting into what they're comfortable with, straight people. And I'm like, fuck off, mate. Like, just because I'm having to say it, it doesn't, you know what I mean? It's like, I'm not an activist, mate. I'm like, I'm a comedian. If the audience is too busy thinking about what I'm saying, they're not going to be laughing about what I'm saying. But the coming out thing I always find is odd, because sometimes when you keep something a secret for very long, that can create more shame, because you've built it up further in your head. And then also I think that's why a lot of gay men tend to be more promiscuous, because we didn't get to have the chats when you're 13, 14 at school and get to say, oh, here's who I fancy, here's who I fancy. We had to put on, this is probably why we're good actors as well, we've had to act for the first good portion of it.
And we had to like neuter ourselves for a long period of high school when everyone else was having the experimentation. So adulthood is sort of a prolonged adolescence or a prolonged puberty.
Yeah, and it's like, I've found myself still in situations that I'll pretend to be straight, because out of instinct you go, better not let them know. So then you put on your, I'm talking to a mechanic or a workman voice.
Yeah, exactly right. I sometimes do that, but then I look down and I'm wearing a T-shirt with a rooster on it that says cock-a-doodle-doo.
I think, no, there is a thing as well though of like, see when you pretend that you're not,
you make it more obvious.
Yeah,
you absolutely do. People go, there you go.
My boyfriend was like, because I went to mechanics before I went here to drop the car off, and right, so here's how I normally talk, right, and it does change depending on the mood or whatever, but then but I was like talking like that, right, was proper Scottish, right?
I'm hard.
And soon man. And but basically I was talking like that, right? Proper, and my boyfriend was with us, right? But like he was putting on his hard man thing as well. And then on the way out, he literally talked, Larry, he was talking to you about your gig. He knows you're gay. You don't have to do it with him. And I was like, oh yeah.
But also you already are not particularly fey or femme.
Yeah.
So you being you at a neutral level isn't particularly like clockable as gay, you know, not unless there's like cum in your eye. But which I don't know. I just thought it was a stigmatism. But for you to kind of square your butchness to go further into it is so funny, and so it just proves how instinctive that thing is. Shame. Do you think that shame was seeded, pun intended, like early in your childhood, or was there a recognition of that? Yeah, there was loads of, what's it called? Because I was going to therapy before it was trendy, but no, when I was a kid, so cool. I went to, thank you, way ahead of the curve, and but what do you call it? I was going to therapists when I was like really young. But generally just because I'm fucking like, I'm a weirdo built on shame. And so then sometimes I need to kind of figure out what's making me feel ashamed and what's making me not. Is this actually how I feel, or is this how I've been made to feel? So then it means that I can kind of realise a situation
and think of it more clearly. I'm not good at reading other people's emotions, but I'm quite good at reading what they're ashamed of.
Right.
Which makes me great in a roast battle.
Oh, great. And in bed. Well, go on. What am I sending out now?
You.
Today.
I actually think we're very similar with this. I don't think you're actually ashamed of I think you probably have got, but you probably do have underlying shame on some shit, but I generally can't tell.
That is all I wanted to hear. How were Mum and Dad when you came out?
I think it's about his hair.
Oh my God, stop. He puts the beanie back on. Hopes the ink doesn't run.
He doesn't need the headphones. He's just got them on to pull his hair back.
How were Mum and Dad when you came out?
So I tell a story on stage about coming out to them, and it's not true.
Great.
I know that's such a bad thing to admit, right? But the joke is my dad stormed out of the room in a bad mood, comes back in and hands my mum £10 as if they've had a bet on it. Weirdly though, that joke's actually true, but other people.
That's great.
So that was mates that I worked with that did that. But they were joking about me being gay because I was a virgin. And then they started joking about it. And then I said, because I'd always just kind of ask the question like, if I was gay, would it be a problem or whatever? And then one of them went, yeah, I'd hate it because then I would owe Stevie £10.
Gotcha.
And I was like, that's a really funny joke. And I just happened to remember that from ages before. But I never told them I was gay, actually.
You say that you chose comedy because your dad once said you weren't funny and you're on a mission to prove him wrong. Has he admitted yet that he made a mistake?
I thought you were going to do something cutting.
No. I
Oh,
was just really supportive.
Reuben, you've changed in the past 30 minutes.
It's the magic of therapy.
No, yeah, it's all because I said that about your hair. You're trying to make me look like the bad person.
Don't have to try very hard.
Yes, he's back.
He's here. I'm in the room.
Where did you go?
I have no idea.
God, what was the question again?
I guess it was you say that you chose comedy because your dad once said you weren't funny. You're on a mission to prove him wrong. Has he admitted yet that he made a mistake? But it's sort of a leading question, I guess, into do your parents mind that they feature in your routines?
Okay. Well, my dad has admitted he was wrong. And the reason why, this is my dad's so sweet, is when I was going to move to Southampton, he knew what crime I'd committed and stuff. But he was so like, no, don't worry, I'll sort it. No, if you ever get caught, I'll get you a lawyer and all that kind of stuff. And we'll just need to get you in a good job or whatever.
Is that the Scottish version of the birds and the bees chat? If you've ever committed a crime, don't worry, I'll fix it. So don't worry about birth control or consent. This is straight to the crux of the nation.
Exactly, man. We have clinics that you go into and you go, I committed a crime last night. Okay, we'll check and see if it's going to affect other people. When he knew I was moving to Southampton to do like writing and performance, and I said I wanted to become a comedian because it was a kind of dream I had before. Then he was like, yeah, but you're not funny. And he was almost putting me down because he didn't want me to move away from Glasgow. So it was kind of like a nice, and intent is so underrated, man. Some people just kind of go, no, I don't want intent, I want to demonize, right? And I get when I said that in an interview before, people be like, oh, that's mean of your dad or whatever. Like some other journalists, not saying you're saying that, but I'm like, no, it was genuinely meant with really, it's weirdly a lovely compliment of the thing of, I don't want you to leave Glasgow, so I'm going to say you're not funny.
No, I think that's really sweet.
Aye.
I think that's really sweet.
And then he saw my comedy and he was like, yeah,
Actually,
it's
no,
all right.
fuck off.
Yeah.
Could you please?
He's like, yeah, it's funny, but I'm glad you don't live with me anymore. You disgusting faggot.
It's so funny because I use the word faggot in my comedy quite frequently. But then when I hear other people say it, even other comedians, like, oh God.
Yeah. Well, do you not find this thing of like reclaiming the word? Like, it's such a harsh word. But you know what? If we all use it, then it's like, if someone uses it against us, we'd be like,
I agree. A guy shouted it out from a car at me when I was dressed up the other day, and I was just kind of thinking, I know. I'm in drag. I've got heels on, babe. I've got eyelashes, lipstick, and a load in me. What do you think I'm doing with my life? Now it's time for the pick and mix of Come to Daddy. Pick and mix, pick and mix. It's time for us to do pick and mix. And today you have chosen, drumroll please, Amanda.
It's quite hard.
There's a lot of saliva on that microphone now.
Got a sore tongue.
Daddy, look, I'm doing a dive. Did you have any tactics to try and get your parents' attention?
What I used to do, I'm going to prefix this. I was nuts as a kid, like batshit crazy. I used to not pee in the toilet. I would pee around on the floor, in the toilet.
What are you, a Cocker Spaniel puppy? He had his ears trimmed. You couldn't tell the difference.
I've never had a therapy session like this before.
It's a pleasure.
It's belter.
Wait for the invoice.
This is a new fucking style of therapy that I love.
What, roast battle therapy?
Yeah, it's great. It's so good at just kind of going, come on, get a grip of yourself. Come on.
I'm in. So you used to pee around the bowl on the floor?
Like on the floor, yeah. I'd pee everywhere.
At what age is this?
Oh, this is probably like 6 or 7. Right. I knew what I was doing. And the reason why I find it so funny is because, so if you miss the top, right, then it's obvious you've missed. But if a bit of pee goes in, then it goes in. So I was like, this is so funny because they're going to think that there's a leak. And then the amount of plumbers that had to come to our house, man, all because I would pee. I don't know if that's getting attention from my parents, but it's getting attention from, they're looking at the reaction to my thing. So I used to basically make them think they needed plumbers and stuff. And the plumber was like, I remember that poor plumber got fired because it was like my dad was going, that fucking plumber, like he's been out here 3 times and he still can't find that leak. We're never using him again. Let's get a new plumber. And I'm just like, yee.
You're a monster. You're a monster. The worst daddy, look, I'm doing a dive ever because you've cost someone a job. Larry Dean, part of the problem. You heard it here first on Come to Daddy.
Right. Yeah. I love it. I still find it funny that I did it though. I'm happy I did it.
The humour takes on a real sort of Machiavellian evil child genius bent of the fuss that you're creating with nobody knowing.
Mate, it's even the thing as well though, with that kind of shit. I'm just like, you know what? I was 7. As I said before, my parents, the first few years of my life, it's their fault because they're the ones who made me.
Shifting the blame where it belongs. The last wave to surf through on our journey to the promised land. Sure, let's torture that metaphor more. Is Shall I Be Mother? Shall I Be Mother? Larry Dean, this is where you look into my bloodshot eyes and imagine that I am your mother, your father, or a scary science lab Frankenstein of the two, stitched together with fishing twine with 30,000 volts pumped through me. And you speak from the heart. What would you say to your parents if they were standing in front of you now?
Dad, it's pronounced cuckold. What would I say? Please only keep that in if the other cuckold and stuff said. Otherwise, that would be the creepiest way.
No, that's going in on its own.
Please don't. What would I say to them now? I've had all these chats. It's so because I feel that it's kind of avoid I know it's probably not the answer you want, but I had to have these chats with my parents through therapy stuff. So what I would say to them now is, thanks for helping me be funny. There would be no what's it called, would be. I mean, I'm going to phone them tonight anyway. Still talk to them all the time. God, making it fucking hell. You built it up a lot as well. You made it seem as if it was a never-ending story, kind of mind, right? But
well, a lot of the other comedians I've done have had more interesting stories, but they've also done a lot less therapy. If you want to be boring, go to therapy. But if you want to be funny...
Okay, you found my shame level. You found my shame level.
You're ashamed of your being boring?
No, I'm so... The first thing I ever said to my boyfriend, like because I chatted to him online for years.
Yeah.
But, and then when he was old enough... no,
Go on.
So I chatted to him online for years, and then when I met him, he came to my gig, and then I chatted to him afterwards, and he said, the first thing you ever said to me was, "Am I a disappointment?" And he was like, wow, this is going to be easy. But so that's always the thing. I'm so like terrified of being boring or a disappointment, which is, I suppose, actually is probably the thing of having to entertain your parents. What was I supposed to tell my parents? Oh yeah, hi mum, dad, love you. I'll be back in a few weeks. I'll be out.
That's Larry Dean. Goodbye. That has been Come to Daddy with me, your host, Reuben K. And our guest this week, Scottish comedian and disappointment, Larry Dean.
Oh, God.
And Larry Dean. Larry, where can listeners of the pod find you?
They can find me on @Larry Dean Comedy on all the social media stuff, or LarryDeanComedy.com. It's a juxtaposition. I'm beating Reuben to the joke he was going to say.
Amanda will cut it out. Anything funny you've said today, she'll cut out.
Oh, I know how you work it. Yeah, I know that's going to be the case. Anything funny I say is just going to be nothing.
Yeah, cut out and it'll be in my show tonight. I'm like the Angelina Jolie of jokes. They're all different and only two of them are mine.